Hey folks, you know I take my trail camera intel pretty seriously. It's a huge part of how I build my hunting strategy, and I'm always looking for gear that just flat out works. Stuff I can rely on. Backed by solid people and the best customer support in the business. That's exactly why I run Tacticam Reveal cell cameras. Whether you're just getting started or you're a full-blown data junkie like me, they've got a camera to fit your budget and your hunting style. My go-to currently is the Reveal 3.0 series with fully integrated GPS. These things are dead simple to set up. Less fiddling, more scouting and hunting. And they run on most major service providers and will automatically connect you to the strongest signal in your area. So no more hiking to the top of a ridge just to realize you've got the wrong service provider. Been there, not fun. Here's the kicker. You don't even need an SD card. That means fewer trips in, less pressure on your spots, and more real-time intel sent straight to your phone. And if you pair it with a Reveal solar panel or a lithium cartridge, you can keep those cameras running longer and spend more time doing what actually matters. Scouting new ground, dialing in a setup, or maybe, just maybe, finally cleaning the garage like you told your wife you would before the season started. Don't just take my word for it. Check out Tacticam Reveal at tacticam.com. Tacticam. Everything you need to take your hunting to the next level. Stay more comfortable, more concealed, and in the stand longer with Oscio gear. Premium camouflage apparel created for bow hunters by bow hunters. Oscio's revolutionary patented camo patterns and innovative features are designed to keep whitetail bow hunters totally invisible and dead quiet. Elevate your game with Oscio. Visit asiogear.com and take 20% off your purchase with code TRUTH20. If you're like me, e-scouting isn't just part of the process, it is the process. And nobody's doing it better than Spartan Forge. This is a veteran-owned company that built the only science-based scouting platform on real GPS collar data and artificial intelligence to predict deer movement. But where it really shines is with their imagery. Spartan Forge now has a high-res UAV coverage for 80% of the whitetail states, down to 5-centimeter detail. That means you can see trails, old logging roads, cuts, even subtle vegetation changes that most apps completely miss. And if you really want to get nerdy, their LiDAR layer breaks right through the canopy so you can see the forest floor. Gives you some visibility to those hidden draws, ditches that big bucks absolutely love to live in. Add in historical wind data and a desktop-only features like Eagle Eye and Cyber Scout, and you've got the most advanced hunting app out there. Start your risk-free 14-day trial today at spartanforge.ai. Welcome to the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Tacticam Reveal Cellular Cameras. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 466. Today, I am joined by my buddy Dan Johnson to talk chasing the late rut and what if Samuel L. Jackson was a hunting product spokesperson. So stay tuned. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. And today I got my buddy on, Mr. Dan by God Johnson, Mr. Nine Fingers Chronicles himself. My friend who, I'm not going to hold it against him, but is an Iowa Hawkeye wrestling fan. Mm-hmm. We do have good debate during the course of the year over that. Yep. I won't hold that against you. We're still brothers nonetheless.
Yep. Brothers behind the bow.
That's right.
I don't know what's going to happen in Iowa this year. I know Penn State is obviously stacked. Oklahoma State is stacked.
Looking pretty good, yeah.
Looking pretty good this year. Even Nebraska is going to be up there, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much Ferrari has fallen off the train since his initial, championship back in whenever that was, 2020 or 21 or who knows what the hell when that was. Yeah. But we got some hammers too. It's just about who shows up and who's ready to go. But let's be realistic of what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I love that you and I can text message, because I got a handful of buddies that are into grappling, and I love that I have buddies I can text message about and that know what's happening, because you and I will hit each other during the course of the season, whether it's like I'll see an Iowa match or whatever, because I don't watch Penn State's who I follow, but it's like I'll watch Iowa matches. I'll watch Nebraska matches. I just love wrestling. Right. And Nebraska does have a hammer of a team, and they got a couple natties coming back, and Ferrari. Yep. He placed third last year, but he's bumping up the heavy. So we'll see how that goes.
I don't think that's going to go as well for him as he thinks it is. I mean, he's going to be one of the most mobile heavyweights that there there is, but I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different animal, especially, he's certainly going to be mobile, to your point. The challenge becomes there's a different type of strength. I mean, he's strong, don't get me wrong, like he's freakishly strong, but there's a different kind of strength whenever you're scrapping with a dude that goes 260, 270.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Versus someone who's 230. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that. There's a big difference, I mean, I'm sure he'll fare well. He's good. He's technically good. I think last year was I think he was knocking some rust off. He didn't have a lot of great competition where he was wrestling at because it was a smaller school. Not a lot of great training partners. He even said as much, which wasn't necessarily cool of him to do. But but it was a fact, right? And so I think with better partners and stuff like that, he'll have a little bit more of the rust knocked off and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And he's going to be wrestling studs in the Big Ten the entire time. So whatever. Whatever.
And then you guys got some hammers too, man. You got Ferrari's brother. He's a hammer. He looked good last year. You got Ayala still, so you guys got a couple dudes.
Dude, redshirt freshman coming in, man. Like the entire Iowa wrestling community now has hope again after Spencer Lee. The way that Ferrari wrestled against that dude, I forget his name now, but that dude from Oklahoma State who was ranked second at the time.
Plot.
Plot. Beat him in Iowa City. And that just gave everybody hope again for the elusive Iowa four-timer.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a hammer, dude. Like, and he wrestled Starachi tough too. Like, that was a great match. Like, he did, I mean, some people gave him crap because he wasn't super aggressive, but I'm like, against the guy like Starachi, like, you can't be, right? You can lose the match in the first round or in the first period if you make terrible mistakes against someone that high level, right?
Yeah.
So he did what he was supposed to do. He was like, keep it close and let me try to steal it at the end. Like, that's a good strategy for a young guy,
Yep, absolutely.
But anyway, speaking of strategies, dude, we're going to talk a little hunting strategy. We're going to talk.
Wait a second.
Hold on. Are we derailing?
You were derailing. I even warned you that this is what I was going to do before.
You did.
I know you are like, there's certain people I give a heads up. There's other people where I'm just like, not so fast, buddy.
Not so
We're
fast,
going to talk
friend.
about something. So I'm this guy who I will stare out a window and my mind goes into fucking outer space some days.
Oh, yeah.
And this isn't even on drugs, right? This is sober Dan Johnson. This is sober Dan Johnson and how he thinks. And I was just like, my wife the other day, she was complaining about, she is in the corporate world and she has these meetings with people from, Philadelphia, from Connecticut, from Denver, from LA, from Chicago, from Atlanta, these big corporate meetings. And she's just like, the dumbest thing we have to waste our time on is these icebreakers in these meetings after you go around, it's just annoying as shit because then there's 30 minutes left in the meeting and nothing gets covered.
Yeah.
Right. Now let's have a meeting. Let's have another meeting, right? You've been there, I've been there. So the icebreakers, and then just like, okay, whatever. So today's icebreaker that I'm giving you is this. I want you to envision that you are the owner of a hunting brand, okay? And maybe it's one specific product, and name a hunting product. Just first thing that pops into your head. Name a hunting product.
Spartan Forge.
No, a product, not a brand.
Oh, okay. A product, Grunt Tube, Grunt Call.
Oh, dude, this is going to be beautiful. Grunt Tube. Okay, God damn it.
Grunt Tube.
A grunt tube.
Do you know why that popped into my head?
Because you're a pervert?
Because I was literally like back in my truck trying to get stuff ready to leave on Saturday for my trip. And I have a checklist because I'm super anal about packing, right? And so I'm going through my checklist and it's like my grunt tube is on there and I'm like, oh man, it's in my pouch on my saddle and it's in my truck, but I'm always worried I'm going to forget something. So I know it's in there, but I still had to walk from upstairs to the basement, out to the garage, open the truck, get into my saddle and like feel it to make sure it was in there, even though I knew I put it in there like September 28th. You know what I mean? But anyway, grunt tube.
Grunt tube. Okay. Now I want you to tell me who the spokesperson for this grunt tube is, but that person cannot be in the hunting industry?
Oh man. All right. My buddy Dave Torrey. He's the spokesperson.
Okay. Now, what is it about Dave Torrey that is going to sell a ton of grunt tubes?
Dave Torrey will sell grunt tubes because he is personable. He reminds you when you meet him of someone that you already know instantaneously, right? He's a newer hunter, in fact, right? So he's not super long in the tooth. He's a younger guy, like he's in his mid-20s, mid to later 20s.
Okay.
And he's a newer hunter, so this is something that he would have in his toolkit that he would be using. So it'd be authentic, in terms of how he uses it. And he's also just a genuinely funny, semi-sarcastic kind of guy, to where everything he says, whenever he says it, you kind of, or you wonder, like, did he mean what he said, or was that supposed to be a joke, right? And so he kind of makes you think whenever he delivers information.
Gotcha. That's not a bad answer. All right. I like the approach there.
Hopefully Dave's listening to this. He'll be like, dude, why you share my name?
So, like, I don't know why, but I was watching a TV last night, and Samuel L. Jackson is now doing like credit card commercials.
I see where this is going. God, I wish I had a better answer.
Just imagine Samuel L. Jackson from like old school. Hey, motherfucker! You want the best grunt tube in the industry? And just like
they sell grunt tubes in what? They sell grunt tubes in what?
Yeah. You turn that buck around right now. Just like that old school Samuel L. Jackson, where he's just like angry and pissed off, and it's like quit wasting my time.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Pulp Fiction, yes.
Oh my God.
So Samuel L. Jackson would be mine for a grunt tube, but let's be honest. And I'm surprised in a male dominated industry. Okay. Yes, let's not get it twisted. There's probably a lot of conservatives in there, but we're talking 90s. My demographics on the Nine Finger Chronicles and all of the like Sportsman's Empire that I've gathered, 97% men.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Same on my end. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm guessing the 3% of the demographics that are showing women are probably men listening through their woman's device.
Yeah, like through their Amazon thing in their kitchen or whatever the case is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, So I am surprised that the hunting industry has not like gone, and I think back in the 90s, they tried it for a little bit. Some of the, like the bow companies made a calendar where there's some hot babes shooting it. But like, dude, I'm curious in this era of decadence and like just, I don't even know what the word that I'm looking for is, but why the hunting industry hasn't gone down the TNA road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Just like some voluptuous babe being extra slutty with a grunt tube and just being like, "Hey, big boy, you want me to blow into this tube?" Just some crazy shit like that.
Right. Yeah. It is interesting. I think some brands are not starting. I think there are some brands who have more of a tilt toward kind of like, I don't want to say like sketch comedy, but comedy components to things. Like you start to see it with certain things where like some of the guys will have a natural sense of humor. Like I know like some of the tethered guys have done that, right? Like they've had like an infusion of like humor into some of their stuff and things like that. And they try not to take themselves too seriously, like, some of their stuff. But to your point, it's like, I've not seen someone kind of get completely over the top. I think the one reason why the TNA thing hasn't worked or hasn't been broached is because I think whenever they've kind of dabbled in it, like I think there's been a visceral reaction to it, to where it's like, it's very obvious, like the people who are being marketed to, it's like, you think I'm going to buy this product, scent thing that I know already is bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you think because you put like a girl on it, I'm going to buy it. So I think it's somewhat insulting the intelligence a little bit to a degree,
Probably.
right? I think it's why they steer away from it, right? And you obviously get those memes and pictures of like a brand trying to do something like that, and like the person's holding the boat like upside down and backwards. You know what I mean? It's shit like that where you're like, maybe not. You know what I mean?
Not.
Maybe this is not the product for me. You know?
Exactly.
But I agree.
We'll stick with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, dude. If Samuel L. Jackson sold grunt tubes, I'd be all over it. Especially if you hit one of them like in the middle of like your, could you imagine like you're getting ready to grunt at a deer and like you put it on the wrong setting and it just goes, "What, motherfucker?" Like yells it in the woods.
we have hey, our grunt tube comes with 3 custom calls: the grunt, the snort wheeze, and the Samuel L. Jackson. And when you put it on the Samuel L. Jackson setting, it's just like, "Hey, motherfucker."
Exactly, dude. It's for whatever you tried the first 2, they didn't work, and the buck ran away.
Yep. You don't want to go to. It's between snort, wheeze, and rattling.
Yeah,
it's the Samuel L. Jackson. Dude, I like that idea. I like that idea.
Or you hit it to instead of mouth bleating them. Could you imagine like on videos, like everyone's like mouth bleating deer to stop, and they just hit the Samuel L. Jackson to stop the deer.
Hey,
that should just be like an overdub in every video, like every on like YouTube hunting videos. Like when they mouth bleat, they just like take the mouth bleat out, overdub Samuel L. Jackson's voice. Like I would watch it for just that, you know?
Oh man, back in the White Knuckle production days. God, who was it? There's a guy who I don't know if he was on the DVDs very long. But he, like most people would stop a buck and go bap like that.
Yeah.
This guy would like go stop. He would would say something that is not like, it was completely different than what everybody else is. It's like, hey, stop. Right. Hey, you. Right. And we'd be like, what are you doing? That's crazy. But it was so different and it was funny and we used it. We used it to make fun of him about. So
that's awesome. That was a good derail, man. I had no clue where we were going, and as soon as you said Samuel L. Jackson, I regretted my decision. Not because Dave's not a nice guy, because it's not nearly as funny as Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson, man, would be a great one,
dude. And he's everywhere. Like he's doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Yep. Guy's living his best life. You know.
Yep. Absolutely.
Anyway, man,
what are we going to talk about now?
Yeah. So, hard transition from that.
Hard pivot.
Yep. Yeah, hard pivot. We are going to talk some deer hunting, man. And speaking of living your best life, dude, you were out in the, we won't like necessarily divulge where you were at, man, but you were chasing, like you do every fall, man. Like you were getting after mule deer, dude. Like, so how did that play out?
One of my favorite things to do. Dude.
Why is it your favorite? I don't know if I've ever asked you that.
I think it's less about the mule deer and more about the environment.
I get down with that.
Dude, I don't know what it is about the movie like Dancing with Wolves or
Tumani Tatanka Owachi Pishniela Mayalo.
Yeah, whatever you just said, right? Whatever.
That's what he yells at the end, like when Kevin Costner's leaving. Like he's
yeah.
So I convinced someone at one point, a derail. I convinced someone at one point that I spoke. Oh shoot! What was the tribe that he was with?
Apache, Sioux, Navajo.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but like I said, I said that to someone like in a work meeting once, and I said, "Oh yeah, I speak Apache or whatever," and I convinced them that I was fluent in like some Native American language or whatever, and I let it ride for a while until I finally like explained like, no, it's literally the only thing I know how to say is, and I got it from Dances with Wolves.
Well, badass, right? There's something though about like that type of terrain, the movie The Revenant, right? That dude, there's something about that environment that I don't know what it is, dude, but I just get lost in it. Yeah. It's almost like for some reason I feel like when I'm out there, I am walking footsteps in the footsteps of people who came before me. I don't get that feeling in Iowa ever. Maybe it's because I live here, but when I go out west and I'm sitting on a glassing knob, and of course you see cattle and fences, but there's some times when you're walking through these areas and you're just like, I wonder if anybody else has ever been on this line.
In this exact, yes.
Yeah. In this line right here, staring, looking for buffalo, or, like crossing the Missouri River into the west, or whatever the case is. And it's like this nostalgia of sorts, like historical nostalgia, where I'm just like, dude, I feel like I am a part of my life right now. Right.
Yeah. No, I totally get it, man. And that's what I love about,
I'm not a mountain guy. Like, I'm a prairie guy.
Right.
It's something about it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's funny the way you kind of laid that out, because that's the same reason why I love the plains, like why I love hunting whitetails in the plains, why I like spotting and stalking, similar like what you're doing with mule deer. Also similar, like, or partially why I chose to use a longbow this year is I get that same feeling. I thought I was an oddball for it because, I'll do the same thing where I'll be somewhere glassing, and I'll even just while I'm driving through some of it, I'll just be looking and be like, wow, man, I wonder however many couple hundred years ago, what people were doing here. And I wonder if they were in this area. And I wonder if there were buffalo here. I wonder if they were, it's the same kind of idea. And then using the longbow this year, especially headed to the plains, was more about me trying to like be more like them.
Yeah.
Like stripping stuff away and going, can I do this with less and less, and try to get closer to like what people before me were doing, right? I'll never get 100% there, right? I'll never be as good as they are, right? Because they had to do it to live and to survive and stuff like that. But can I get just a little taste of it is what I'm looking for, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So how did the hunt play out? Was it all good?
Yeah, man. I mean, the deer were where we were at, man. Here, a couple things. The deer were there. And I mean, what I mean deer, I meant the does. We had zero trouble locating does. We could not find the bucks, man. And we went back to the same place that we went last year, and we went and we scrubbed every drainage that we knew about. Okay. Does, yes. Bucks, no. Right. We just couldn't find them. And we did find, the couple days, we did find a handful of like very small buck, like bachelor groups, where we're talking spikes, forks, and then there was a decent, I don't even want to say decent, he was a young 2x2, and then a 3x4 or a 4x4, but I mean, we're talking basket type antlers. The very last day, the last evening of the hunt, we did, however, I didn't, but the guy I was with, we went to different spots, and he saw an absolute giant. I mean, just like a freak mule deer out there that's really good for that area. And unfortunately, he had it. I think he took a shot at it at 60. He was playing cat and mouse with it in this drainage. He stood up and rebedded, and he tried to get back. But when he went low, that buck went high. And then when he popped up, it was already kind of looking at him. And so he drew back and took a shot and didn't work. But just like last year, we saw a ton of bucks. The main theme of this entire conversation is cattle. I just felt like there was way more cattle on the landscape this year than there has ever been before.
Really?
I feel like.
Why is that? Is it just like the rotations they go through this year just kind of timed, like the rotation was like they're going to be in those areas?
Yeah, I think there was a rotational thing. I think there was a lot of rotational things that kind of played out, but I also think that they increased cattle production as well over the landscape, right? Gotcha. And so I'm just sitting here going, Jesus. So what ultimately, like, here's the moral of the story. The moral of the story is we scrubbed all of our spots. And one thing we've noticed over the years that, yes, there might be a handful of deer in the cattle mixed in with the cattle, but if the cattle are low in the drainage, there's no deer in the drainage, because the deer are coming up, they're coming off high and they're dropping down low, and then they bed in the lowest possible spots in this early October time frame when we come. And we would just walk into an area, glass it. We see cattle on the bottom. We turn around and walk out. Right. We see cattle up high, then we might go give it a morning, see them, no bucks. Right. And I'm not opposed to shooting a doe, but it's like I'm putting all this time and energy into the hunt and getting out there. I kind of want to at least go put a stalk on a buck at some point, while I'm there. It just didn't play out. So cattle production was up. And that I felt like it was up. We did find a pocket of no cattle, and sure enough, there was a ton of does in there. I mean, imagine, I counted, I think, was it 35 does in a 300 yard by 300 yard square drainage. And they were just different doe groups that they've just all packed in there because it's the only place that there was not any cattle. And I thought for sure, dude, we found it. This is it. This is where the bucks are going to be at. And nope, they weren't there. And so probably because there was too many does in there. And I'm guessing that they wanted to be separate. So there's that. That was a huge thing. Mosquitoes were absolutely horrible.
Dude, I saw one of your stories and I was like, goodness, man.
Oh man, it made me feel like I was in, you seen those National Geographic videos of people being in like the Arctic Circle in spring or summer, and the mosquitoes are just so bad that they're wearing full nets and stuff like that. Dude, the first morning I went out there and I did not have a thermocell, I was like, dude, I had to leave early. I had to leave the hunt early because I just couldn't take it anymore. So I ended up walking back. The mosquitoes were bad, but that didn't necessarily keep us out, keep us from hunting. We just went out and got bit, or by the second day I had a thermocell that I had bought.
Right.
But outside of that, man, so as you know, and as I'm sure a ton of listeners know, there is a lot of landlocked public land out west. Meaning, and now in certain states, there are some rules. Like in certain states, you can walk a historic open section line across private property to get to landlocked public. That's some states there's that. Certain states, if it's not posted, you're allowed to hunt it. I think maybe that's like North Dakota or something like that. Right. So there are some loopholes to being able to get back. And we had kind of exhausted all of our land resources that we knew about, in the past. We would go in and we would, look for these deer. And then the next step was just, we saw a piece of landlocked public land. It did not have any access at all throughout it. We saw a farmer coming out of a tractor, getting ready to jump into a truck. And we stopped and we talked to him and we're like, hey man, we are interested in just walking across from this piece of public to this piece of public. Do you have any problems with that? Like, can we get permission to do that? And he was really skeptical at first. And this kind of blows my mind. He was like, I don't want you to scare my cattle. I don't want you to drive back there. So you can take that, 3/4 mile walk across my property if that's what you really want to do. And then he's kind of stopped. He goes, wait a second. Are you guys hunting with rifles? And I go, no, we're bow hunters. And he's like, okay, good. Like he did not want any gun hunters on his property with his cattle. And stray bullets, I'm guessing, like loud noises. And so he ended up letting us, and that gave us access to quite a bit of public, several other drainages that we could not have otherwise got to. And we were able to cross his property. And that's where we saw a ton of whitetails, saw one small, and when I mean small, I mean like 3x3 basket, 50-inch whitetail, and a handful of whitetail does. And then that's where we saw I bet you that day I saw 100 mule deer doe in. Wow. And we were out from dark till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just scrubbing drainages. Like one of us would walk on one side of the valley, another of us would walk on the other side, and we would glass into each other's. We did that a couple times.
Yeah, make sure you can see, like, because you can't always see, like, directly below you on one side.
Exactly.
Like, right? There's always a blind spot from one side.
Exactly. And it just did not pan out, my man. I mean, it just didn't work. And so
sometimes it breaks that way, right, man? It's like,
right.
You can't kill the deer if they're not there, that's like and I think a lot of times people get all busted up over it. People, I think, especially when they take trips, if they've not taken a lot of them, right, their expectations, they have this whole experience that they're going to have kind of built up in their mind. And when you get there, sometimes variables, whether it's cattle, whether it's weather, whether it's other hunter pressure, whatever the case is, kind of throws a wrench into your works.
Yep.
You kind of have to do what you did, which is like, you just adapt and make the best of it and try to make something happen. You know what I mean? Yep. And then even still, like with best laid plans, and, you guys continue to get after it, during the entirety of the trip, and it still just doesn't manifest for whatever reason, and that's the break sometimes, man. It's like, I think a lot of times guys have these expectations of, like, you take a trip out of state, especially if you come from a place like, just say like Pennsylvania, for example, right, which is better hunting than people would think in a lot of instances, but it's not the Midwest. And so I think a lot of times when people make a trip from, like, say like PA or something like that, and they're headed to the Midwest, their expectation is like, oh dude, it's a field tag, right? But I've made plenty of trips and I've come home with the tag still plenty of times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just part of it. Like, you just have to kind of know that that's a possible outcome. You do everything you can to try to keep it from happening, but sometimes the deer just don't want to play ball. And if they don't want to play ball, I mean, they hold all the cards for the most part. We hold like one.
Yeah.
But
that's a fact, man. And again, like, the approach that we talked about earlier in this episode was, you're going out to a specific location for 30 days or however long it takes to get the
a month.
A month. Yeah. If I had a month out in South Dakota, I'm sure at some point I would have located a mule deer to go put a stock on that was worthwhile. That was just,
Yeah.
I will say this. I did let an arrow go just to be like completely real here. I did let an arrow go at a mule deer doe, and I hit her at 27 yards. I mean, she was standing directly below me. It was that moment, right? It was that video type stuff. You see guys climbing up a big embankment and they're shooting straight down on a mule deer or whatever that's bedded. And I had that exact scenario play out with one of the deer, with this doe. I saw her by herself and I was like, oh dude, she's in a perfect stockable spot. The wind was exactly what I needed it to be. So I ran over there, and sure enough, she was still there when I got there, and she was on her feet, and there was another doe that was tucked back in there, and I drew back. But this is a learning experience for someone who is like a tree stand hunter. Like, we're for the most part used to a deer being on level ground, right? Like, her back legs were higher than her front legs. So she was like kind of aiming down, and it was a quartering away shot. And so I put it where would have been money if she was level, like if her legs were up, then that arrow angle would have been more down into her, I would say, front side liver, backside lung type of area. And what ended up happening is she was at that angle. So where I hit her, that arrow trajectory where I felt like it should have went lower, it stayed, it followed its path, and it just backstrapped her. Right. So it was above the spine, and it came out above the spine on the other side. And I running away, ton of blood. I followed blood for probably 3 hours. 3 hours, no, 2 hours that night, and then an additional 4 hours the next morning. When I went back and tried to pick it up, just could not find her. And then when I looked at her in the binoculars that night after I hit her, she ended up, I could tell it was like just not a good shot, right?
Right.
If her front legs were up, it would have been, I would have crushed her, but her front legs were down and angling down. And I had an opportunity, I took it, and it just did not work. And that's a learning experience right there. I gotta be aware of the angle.
Yeah. I mean, when you get in that terrain that's like significant, because it's so funny because, it's so flat out there, generally speaking, right? Out in some of those plains areas, right? But you do get those real hard pitches, in those certain scenarios, a lot of times where they like to bed and stuff like that. And you don't really think about that until you've hunted it a little bit and you've either had to take that shot or you see it or whatever the case is. And that's a real hard shot to try to replicate, right? Because you can replicate getting in a stand or in a saddle or whatever and shooting high angle out of a tree, but you're still shooting high angle at an animal that's probably standing with their feet somewhat level with one another, right? Even when you're hunting in like mountain country, like some of the places that I hunt, like there's still like, even if a deer was coming up or down a ridge, it's still not going to be that drastic. You know what I mean? Especially when you're doing the over the top thing, like that's just a tough shot to make, man. Like that's like, even if she was on flat ground, like that's a hard shot to make.
Yeah. Yep. And there's the chance of only getting one lung or something like that. But that's what happened my very first year I ever went mule deer hunting. Same exact scenario. The buck was bedded. And from where I hit him, I was just like, dude, I crushed this deer. Hit one lung, came out like directly underneath of his armpit. The arrow was there, stuck in the ground, found it. And then I watched him run away in a spotting scope for like a mile before I lost him. And never had to get permission from a landowner, found some blood, almost like he bedded down, and I just never found him. It's sucks.
Yeah, man. It's they're tough as hell. Yeah. Well, then like when you get out into some of those plains areas too, man, those critters are big, dude. And especially mule deer, like those are just tough, hardy animals,
That and the fact this is what blows my mind. They can disappear in 6 inches of grass.
Yeah.
Like they can lay down. I bet you if you looked at their body, they could lay down extremely flat and like almost hunker their head down. I don't know how many times I was walking in through this terrain, and then I'm looking at my boots and maybe the grass comes up to about my ankle or above my ankle. And I look and I jump a mule deer, and that I had no idea, or I see a mule deer and it's just their ears and head. And I'm like, how did they do that? But they're really good at it.
Yeah, man. They know how to use what they have to their advantage. It's, and when we look at it through our human eyes, we don't see the advantage, right? We're like, how could you possibly? I could never hide in this, and it's like, and I'm half the size of that thing, and but they find a way. When you get home though, because like we're gonna switch gears here and we'll start talking about some whitetail rut, right? Because we're gonna talk about the back half the rut, because a lot of guys are gonna be taking their trips, and they'll take their trips around that first kind of part of the year, or first part of the rut session, right? Like whether it's pre-rut the last week of October or that first week of November. But when you're coming back from the West, and getting after mule deer, how do you kind of get because it's like the terrain couldn't be more different that you're hunting from where you were hunting mule deer to hunting Iowa, or for me, plains to the mountains in PA, or whatever the case is. Like, how do you kind of get your head back into whitetail mode after you kind of, have a trip like that? And it's so different, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's just, I've been doing this for so long. I don't even have to get my brain around it. It's literally okay, I'm whitetail hunting now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm not like, oh dude, I'm struggling to get back into, it's not, It's like everything, this is 30 years of whitetail hunting, 20 of it being ultra serious. And now I'm just like, let's go. Right. Actually, as I, not last night, but the night before, we are recording this on October 23rd. First sit in Iowa. high
Yeah, I
winds.
saw your story, dude.
Yeah, dude, went in and had a giant stand up at 72 yards. And he walked away from me, and then he came back around after shooting light, and I saw him in my binos, but I did not have an opportunity to put a shot on him. He just came at 30 yards. He came by too late.
Right. What do you I'm trying to figure out how to ask this. Is that a deer you think is going to be around like for the long term, or is that a deer you know of, or is that?
I'm going after him again tonight. Yep.
Are you? Okay.
Yep.
You feel good about him being in the same area?
Dude, I feel good about him being in potentially the same exact bed that he's in. I think with the high winds, I got in there and I was able to get in there because of the high winds. And so I think I'm going to have to be a little more stealthy getting into that area with the wind direction. It's going to be like, I just feel like I'm that guy who is like, he was in there. He did not spook. He's had 48 hours to chill out. And now I'm going to go back in after him again. I feel like two guys will see a deer in an area. He'll walk away and then they'll just be like, okay, that's it. And then they go to a different spot. Like, my gut tells me that this deer is in here right now. The does are not, he didn't seem interested in does. The does didn't seem like any of them were getting ready to go into estrus. And so the sign is in there. I know from historical, knowledge that that's a great bedding area, especially right now when it's thick. Once we get we just had a major frost today, but once we start to get major frost and the temperatures start drastically dropping, that bedding area kind of lays down a little bit, and he might still be in there, but in a different location. Like, I'm really just trying to get after him while he's still in there and before the chaos of the rut. You know how hard it is to locate a deer in its own, like in a bedding area this early into the year and be on him? I feel like I'm on him, and if I walked away from him, I'd be stupid.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. What percent chance do you give yourself tonight? Like, what are your 50. Odds? Like
50-50. Dude, I'm going to tell you right now.
Why not better than that? I would feel more confident if I were you.
I'm cutting the wind hard tonight.
Okay.
And so as we know, I got this crick that kind of hugs this. And tonight is a northwest wind. Okay. So it's going to hug one bank of the creek. He's bedding on the other bank. All right. Okay. And so I'm going to have nose jammer on. I'm going to have my ozonics in the tree. Take, whatever you think about that shit, you think about it. I don't care. That's how I feel confident. If he crosses the creek directly across from him, I'm screwed. But what these deer do is they'll come to the point, because this creek takes a big bend.
Is it like an oxbow there?
Kind of. But what it does is it takes it's almost like he's bedding in a peninsula.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it comes, it runs to the north, and then it turns back south, and then it turns back north, and it connects to a bigger body of a bigger river. And so what they typically do is, yes, sometimes they do cross right away, right over there. They also come to the point, and they cross at the point, which is directly across from my stand. If he comes out of his bed and does the same exact thing tonight, not tonight. If he instead of looping around, if he comes north and crosses at the point of that, like all the other does do, then I'm going to have a shot at him. Right. But if he stays south and crosses downwind to me, it's going to get it. Like my thermals, I've had it before where it's going to be a sunny day, so my thermals will be up. And so maybe he'll be able to drop down and get underneath of my thermals,
Right.
and then cross. And if that's the case, then I think there's a good chance I can get him there. But a lot has to go right if he crosses to the south of me.
Right. Okay.
And my tree stand, I could go and so what I'm doing is I'm splitting the difference. I'm wagering that he is going to come north with his nose into the wind to exit that bedding area and kind of scent check everything that's to the north and west of me. But what's going to happen, or he could do the same thing, but just cross the creek first. Right. And if he does that, well, then I'm toast.
Right. But what did he do? What did he do the other night?
Well, the other night, he went south. He looped back I watched him lay a scrape, and then I watched him rake a tree. And that's when it was so windy, I tried to snort wheeze at him. I tried to grunt at him. I felt like it was too early to rattle. But he did that, and then he looped back into the bedding area. I lost track of him, and then he made a gigantic half circle back to the north of me. And I don't know if I doubt he caught my scent at all, but I'm guessing that he was in the field when I got down out of my tree stand. He saw the headlamp and stuff like that. Like, I'm not, if they're upwind of me and I know that they're not going to smell me, I will get loud. I'll turn my lights on. I will crunch leaves and break shit so that they hear it and they see the light, but they don't associate. My gut tells me they don't associate that with humans.
Right. Yeah. Right? I mean, the best thing is to not be sneaky. They don't feel as like they're being chased per se. Right. They're just like, I hear something, I'm going to get out of here because something's coming this way. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like, if I think there's deer in the air that I would like to chase and I know they didn't see me or smell me, a lot of people, there's two different schools of thought, right? It's like get in and out undetected. And I think by and large, that is a good philosophy, especially going in. Coming out, for me, it's dependent on the situation, right? I definitely don't want them to ever smell me, right? And I don't want them to specifically see me. But if I'm leaving and I think that there are deer, within 50, 60 yards of me while I'm walking out, as long as my wind is good and they're not going to smell me, I do the same exact thing. I just walk out like I'm walking down the hall of my house because I want them to hear me well before they have an opportunity to be close to me.
Right.
The worst thing could be is like I'm quiet getting out and then there's deer in proximity and like, oh, here we are. We're face to face now. This sucks. Right.
Yep.
That's, no good. I'd rather them just hear me and boogie. And then hopefully I didn't spook them too hard, so to speak.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, you can walk up on them and then it scares the shit out of them, or they hear you coming from like 300 yards or see you coming from 300 yards and then they just trot away. So
yeah, and it could be anything. It could be a farmer making noise. It could be a dog running through the tent. It could be a coyote. Like they don't have a clue what it is.
Exactly.
So man,
exactly.
I hope you kill this deer tonight. I hope I see a post here this evening with like a bloody arrow and whatnot. But let's pretend, just for the sake of argument, that you see this deer, things don't play out right, and you go through the first kind of part of November. And you get to kind of like that back half, that say like the 10th, 11th, 12th-ish time frame, right?
Yeah.
And you still have your tag in your pocket, right? What do you change? Like, how do you change from there? Because the reason why I'm asking this is because everyone puts so much focus on that time frame of the year that is like that last week of October, like, and the week we're in now, like leading up to that last week. And that first week of November, a lot of guys take their vacation that time, right? And then whenever it doesn't pan out within that kind of 2-week time frame, the kind of the flurry kind of dies down a little bit, and so deer are still moving, but it's not the crazy kickoff that people kind of are expecting, right, or wanting to see, right? And it gets a little bit more subdued, if you will, right? And I think a lot of guys start to lose faith in that last kind of half of November, but it can be some of the best hunting you'll possibly have all year, potentially, right? And so let's pretend this deer gives you the old okey doke, right? And you're heading into that kind of like second week, we'll call it, of November and beyond. Like, how do you change your approach from now till then? And like, what are you focusing on at that point?
dude, I have been that guy who used to be, dude, I'm bouncing around too much, right? I used to be like, okay, no big buck here, move, no big buck here, move, no big buck here, move, no big buck here, move. And then I never was really giving anything a chance, like any area a chance to produce. And my strategy now is kind of just like every part of the breeding season is the same. Find the doe groups. Find the doe groups. As you will know from gaining experience, that the doe groups slowly break apart when one of the does comes into heat. She'll leave as a buck kind of chases her. The other ones will be like, hey, what's going on? Go back into this bed to food pattern. And that's what I'm doing, man. I'm just trying to locate doe groups. I am looking at great terrain features. So nothing really has changed. It's actually okay. A lot of guys will blow their load in the first week of
100%.
And they will. And here's my opinion on that. From let's just call it the pre-rut. You enter in whatever dates you feel the pre-ruts are on your farm. On the properties that I hunt, pre-rut goes all the way probably to November 4th. And then after that is when you'll start to see the first does come into heat. That's not always the case. There are some flare-ups on either side of this bell curve where you might have a doe come into heat the last week of October or something like that, and it's an outlier.
Pandemonium breaks out. Yeah.
Pandemonium breaks out. But usually what happens is that first, it's not even pandemonium. Because the first doe that comes in, if she's an outlier, the biggest, most mature, badass buck, dominant, whatever, enter buzzword there, he's getting her. And there's no fight for her, right? He's going to put his ears back and he'll snort wheeze at a lesser buck and he'll have her no matter what, right? Yep. But as we get into this pre-rut time frame, I think what happens is a lot of people are using rut strategies during the pre-rut. And what I mean by that is the pre-rut on my farm goes till November 5th, and they're trying to do the calling and rattling and going hard. But bucks are not having to fight until it gets to desperation mode. The dominant bucks are showing up, and there might be a tussle, but the localized herd, before the bucks start to really cover a lot of ground, their local does are getting bred first, and then they're traveling, and that's what's happening on that second week that you're talking about.
And that's whenever like you can really start to manipulate things, and why it can be some of the best, and why a lot of guys have like spent their time. They think the best is kind of past. It's like the best might be past in terms of like just seeing deer like running, right? Yes. Like that. If you just want to see deer, it's probably you've passed the point of like just seeing pandemonium kind of break out.
Yeah.
But you're actually in the best window of time to kill a really good buck and actually manipulate him. Like in that second week, right?
Exactly.
And I've seen that. I mean, and it's different for people in different states, right? Like, I don't want to say biology is different, but like how they respond is a little bit different. It's related to pressure and like all these things, right? But for me, it's like as I'm thinking about it, getting ready to take my trip to the Midwest, right? Like, man, that time frame. It's like I've seen some really, really big deer in that time frame. Actually, the biggest deer that I've seen have been in that second week, typically, right? Yep. Except the one that I killed was like on the earlier part, but he was still like the 7th. So he was after that first week of November for the most part. But so I was going to ask, what do you think? Do you think the biggest mistake guys are making during that second period is just that they're not as in it? Or do you think that there's something else that they're doing, like that second half of the rut that they're making mistakes on?
I don't know. Like, I'm guessing a lot of guys will do one of two things. They will, the second week in November, or like, it's hard for me to say like the second week. I'm going to say November 15th and beyond, or let's even go 13th or 14th and to the end of the month, right? That's the rut post, like we're getting into the back end of this rut.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing what's happening is guys are getting frustrated that maybe a deer that they've been hunting has disappeared. I'm guessing a lot of guys are hunting field edges still, and they're trying the calling techniques. I have a feeling that they are sitting on, they're maybe trying to hunt beds, like bedding areas too much, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. They're cruising, but I feel like once you get into that the peak of the rut to the second half of the rut, you gotta be in places where deer are moving. And what I mean by that is terrain features in transition. Yeah. And I really think that and this is where, like me, I hate sitting all day.
Yes.
But but I'm going to be in there. If I'm going into I did something wrong, I feel, if I'm hunting, if I've not gotten any opportunity on the first week of November to the first half of the rut, I've done something wrong, because my goal is to get a buck down on the ground when he's ready to breed, but the does are not ready to breed. Okay. Right. That's how I attack it. If I don't get that job done, then I am on their schedule now. And that just means time in the stand. And that means that I got to be in a transition area in between bed to food, several doe areas, pinch points, like major pinch points, like one that I'm thinking about is I got this bluff, and it's not even a bluff. It's just, a river takes a hard cut. And then it's going from the south, and it hits this huge wall, and then it gets turned back north. Okay. That creates this pinch point to an inside corner of a cattle pasture. Okay. And so what it pushes two huge bodies of land down into about 200 yards.
Right.
And that's where I would start to focus on areas like that. I would do some calling, probably nothing crazy like blind rattling. I would want to try to see what the natural deer movement is in these areas first. And then if I don't, like, I'm not opposed to like a blind rattling sequence when, I don't know, like right away in the morning while the deer are on their feet. They're probably still far away from where, like, they're probably in the food chasing does. And then as the does come back into the timber, they have maybe searched and they can't find one who smells good. And so they're going to be bouncing from area to area. And those are the types of places that I'll be in. Then if you find a doe group, I'm going back to the staging areas. And I'm going to try to catch them coming out of their beds, going through the transitions, and then getting into the staging areas where, I don't know, I know that they're going to be there. The sign tells me that they're there, maybe some trail camera pictures of them being there. And that's just like a cycle that I go through. And desperation, like when guys go into desperation and they're just like rattling every 30 minutes or something like that, what you're going to do is, not only are you, like, deer are really good at this. This is one thing that I've had to learn the hard way. They are really good at pinpointing sound, then finding ways
dead nuts on. Yes.
Yeah. Pinpointing sound and then finding a way to get a second opinion on that sound through visual. And you have no clue that they're there. They need two boxes checked. They need scent and sight, or they need hearing and sight. And so for me, I can tell you 1,000 stories throughout the last 20 years of me blind rattling and then a deer getting down, downwind of me and busting me, or another time where I will be just glassing in the woods after I rattle to try to hopefully see them, and then catching a buck not moving an inch for 40 minutes, staring right at my direction, looking for something. And because he didn't get that visual of any deer movement, he turned around and walked away or went about his way. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's tough, man, but that's why terrain is so important.
Yeah. And the visual component of things too is so underappreciated. I think we spend a lot of time talking about their scent and their ability to hear, hear obviously, but the visual component of it, I mean, they're very similar to us where it's like, we like visual confirmation of things, right? And they're not any different. It's one thing like in the plains, one thing I try to do if I'm going to do any blind rattling sequence, and I follow the same school of thought as you do, it's like I kind of do it in the morning, right? Because they're already kind of up and moving, and I want to catch them while they're doing that, and they're probably not right on top of me.
Yep.
But what I kind of like to do is in the plains, especially when it's open, is I want something either blocking me, like just like you would set up a stand situation where it's like I want something that keeps them from being able to get downwind of me, or something that would deter them from getting downwind of me, right? Which is like a lot of times in the plains is I'll set up with something where it's like completely wide open behind me, right? To where it's like, man, they're going to have no cover to hide. Like if they're going to try to get completely downwind of me, little rattling sequence, decoy, and then I'll just move it like and flash it, right? That way, even if I can't see the deer, right? If they can possibly see in my direction and I haven't spotted them yet, just a little flash of the decoy to get them to kind of see some movement to say, oh, there's some deer over there, right? I decoyed one in the last time I was out with that same thing. Like I kind of saw him from, I don't remember how far it was away, like maybe 100 yards, 150 yards, did a little rattle, right? He was looking around. I just swiveled my decoy a little bit to get it to flash. And as soon as he saw it, he was like, boom, locked on, and then came on a string right to it, But so, man, if you're in that back half, right? And like you said, I 100% agree with you. Guys are taking their vacation. They're shooting their shot like that first week, and they maybe have limited time in that back half. If you had to pick like a 3-day window that you would want to hunt after that kind of like prime time, if you will, what would that 3-day window be?
If you were like, so
after that time frame, like after like the 11th, 12th, 13th, whatever that time frame was, you kind of outlined, it's like, hey, we're past the peak. We're kind of on the backside of the bell curve. What dates would you prioritize on the backside of that bell curve?
Yeah, there's no dates, right? Let's be honest. Like, what frustrates me about questions like that, and this is no disrespect to the question, but what frustrates me is how many people are like us. How many people listening to this can dedicate an entire month and work out of a trailer and do this, right? My guess is the audience of mine and yours and several of the other podcasts are maybe dedicating one entire week solid to this. And so when someone tells me, ask me the question, what specific dates? I'm like, no, you don't understand. I've already used my vacation time.
Right.
I've already burnt the bridge with my wife this week. I've left her. I've left the kids. Right? And so now it just becomes anything is better than nothing.
Right. Yep.
All right. So if you can squeeze out an afternoon hunt, squeeze out an afternoon hunt. If you can squeeze out a morning hunt, squeeze out a morning hunt. But if then your strategy goes to like just a matter of afternoons and mornings, then you have to be as aggressive as humanly possible in your setups, because that means cutting wind hard. If the wind isn't perfect, you're still like, I'm not saying blatant, like forgetting about
disregard for like,
I'm blowing right into the bedding area and it's going to blow every deer out. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying like, if a northwest wind is perfect, but you could get away with a north wind, then do it.
It might be worth rolling the dice.
Roll the dice, because what's going to happen? The wind's not right. I'm going to stay out tonight. And then it's 5 days later until you're able to get back in there. Once the peak rut hits, this is an observation that I have known. Every day is substantially worse than the day before. And I mean, I think when it comes to how good deer hunting is, and I have no scientific data to back this up, but it's gradual on the front end to the peak, and then it's a huge drop off on the back end. So that bell curve is heavily weighted towards October 1st, and every day's better. Boom, rut, chaos, drops off like a shelf on the back end. and every day just is worse. And then the next thing you know, it's November 25th, 26th, Thanksgiving. The deer are still moving, but they're exhausted. They've been called out 1,000,000 times, and they're like us, right? Hunting 10 days in a row, and
well, I
you're
was just gonna.
exhausted.
That's where I was gonna go next. Is like, when you hit this part of it, right? You've already been grinding, and you probably took, to your point, your vacation. And you're right, man. Like a lot of guys it's going to be mornings and evenings at that point, or maybe they got maybe they got a sick day they can take, or whatever the case is, right? To kind of get out for a day.
Yep.
But it's like, I haven't figured it out entirely, but like, how do you stay in it with the grind? Like, what are any like things that you try to do? Like for me, it's like, I'll take a morning off if I have to, right? I'll stay in bed and get some rest and recovery, do whatever I need to do. My biggest thing is whenever I'm going to hunt that part of the season, regardless of whether I'm hunting, a week straight, or if I've borrowed all my, all my excuses to get out of my house and I'm just doing them mornings and evenings, it's like, I'm trying to be as sharp as I can be whenever I'm out there, because everything else, for the most part, to your point, is like my odds or my favorability is dwindling each day. Right. And so I got to be as good as I can be. Right. And I can only do that if I feel good. And so I'll hunt less, but be focused when I am hunting, if that makes sense. So do you kind of follow a similar suit, or what are you doing then?
Man, I don't like as soon as you ask this, I've been thinking about, I've over the last, I flash back to the last several years.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, I love this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get exhausted about it. Like, am I tired physically because I've been hunting, getting up early, and maybe instead of went to bed, I went and helped a buddy drag a deer out, or I don't know, whatever. Maybe I stayed up late watching a football game. Physically, I'm tired.
Right.
But I am never, okay, I take that back. When I say never, there's always an asterisk, because I never hunt. What I never do anymore is hunt in pouring rain. I won't do it.
Right. Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I'm not that hardcore, I guess.
Yeah. But you and I are both in the same boat.
Yeah. Yep. But what I'm getting at here is, I just love this shit, dude. I love it. And that's what motivates me to get up. And I know that in the next day, it's getting worse and worse and worse until boom, the season is over. And you're just like, what just happened, man? That's what happened last year, where I went to South Dakota. I came and hunted Iowa. I went to Kansas. I tried to get out a couple more times in Iowa, and then the season was over, dude. I am in a stage in my life where hunting is not the most important thing anymore. Right? November 2nd this year, wrestling tournament. I'm not going to hunt that day. November 8th, the peak of what I would call the best times to be out in the woods. I'm praying for a downpour. I'll be at a wrestling tournament. Okay. Yeah. And then it just becomes these just like boop, 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 boop days type of deals, where I'm really looking forward to, I don't know. My kids are older now, like you. I'm able to get out more. I am almost positive my wife doesn't even care about me anymore. So she doesn't give a shit that I'm gone these days. It's just like, we've passed that part in our life. Right. Yeah. Dude, I just love this so much. It's such a passion of mine. So any opportunity that I get to go out, I'm going to enjoy it. But at the same time, it's hard to say I love something so much, but at the same time say I don't give a shit about it at all. Because if my daughter said, Dad, I want to go to a week-long wrestling tournament, it's the first week in November, would you take me? I'd be like, looks like I'm skipping the rut, dude. Like, I'm in a stage of life where I've built my career off of it. I've done it. I've killed, I'm not going to say I'm just some big buck slayer, but in the environment that I have hunted, I have accomplished what I feel is, I'm looking at a wall of antlers. I got my downstairs man cave that has full of bucks on it, mounted bucks, Euro mounts. I'm just like, I've done it. Yeah. So anything now is just a cherry on top.
That's what you were talking about earlier with the mule deer thing. It's like, it's the experience, right? It's like, that's the thing that you're chasing now. You know what I mean? And like, And I'm not saying that you don't want other experiences in Iowa per se, right? But it's, to your point, it's like you've had a lot of those experiences, right? And each one is unique, sure, right? But that's not, for lack of a better way to say it, that's not what you're chasing anymore, right? Like what you're chasing now is that experience in places that seem a little bit foreign, you know what I mean? That are just like, that are net new, right?
Yep.
And to your point, it's the same for me. Like, I love it. I think for me, what keeps me going whenever things are tough or not going your way or whatever the case is just like the possibility of something interesting happening that day. Like, what's going to happen today? You know what I mean? Like, I've got no clue. I'm going to go check out this new spot. I'm going to go glass this area. I'm going to go sit this spot I've never been to before, right? Like, that's the part that gets me excited a lot of times, and doesn't even have a whole lot to do with like the deer that are there. It's more just about the exploration, so to speak, right?
Right. Dude, but when this buck popped out and I knew that once I knew it was over, here's the cool part about this. I'm 44. I turned 45 in 2 weeks. My right knee, I can barely climb a fucking tree stand, dude. It's so bad. Like, it's so stupid, right? I got into the wrestling room. I went to the first wrestling practice, what was it, a couple weeks ago. And after that, my knee's just been throbbing. Okay.
Right,
My doctor says I need a knee replacement. And I'm that young. Anyway, what I'm getting at is when I saw that buck and I knew there was a moment where you just kind of know, well, he's not going to be, if he does come through, you kind of write it off based off of experience. And anything that would have happened would have been awesome, right?
Yeah.
Old Dan Johnson popped up and he's like, we're killing this motherfucker. Like, and I'm sorry for swearing, but like, there's a little bit of that still left in me. And that's why I'm going out tonight. And, if I got to chase this deer down on foot, I'm going to try to do it. And so it's just, my gut told me he's going to be in there. And then if I lose him and we come back to that second part of the rut and he's been there all year, I'm coming back into this area in that 20th, maybe like 20th to 30th time frame. Maybe sometime around that Thanksgiving, if we got a day off school or something, I'm going to go in there again. I mean, deer like areas for a reason. If I found his bed and he is there, you got to go after him until you can't go after him, but don't and then who knows what happens during the rut. Maybe he gets hit by a car, maybe he's dead, but then you go back in, and I've done this 100 times. I feel like I found him again, and sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not.
Right.
So.
Well, awesome, buddy. I've kept you here just a little over an hour, man. I want to be sensitive to your time, let you get on with your day and get on with your morning. I appreciate you coming on. Always good catching up with you. I love the Samuel. So we got to get Samuel L. Jackson in the hunting industry, I think is what the net is. And before I let you get out of here, though, let people know where they can find out, about all the stuff you have going on, all the podcast stuff you have going on, and your Insta and whatnot.
Yeah, dude. If you just want to go to OnlyFans and type in 9 fingers, you'll find me.
Perfect.
Dude, 9 Finger Chronicles everything, right? Yeah, go to Instagram, 9 Finger Chronicles, go to Sportsman's Empire, whatever. Like, just if you want. I just love talking deer with you, man. Good luck. Hey, dude. Good luck in Kansas, dude. I hope you slay.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's going to be a long haul. Looking forward to it, though. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, but I was really fired up when this buck stood up. I go, it's over tonight. Like, it could be over tonight. And then I thought maybe for a second, dude, I can go back out to South Dakota and try to get the job. I got the tag still, right? See what happens. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. But if something shakes out early, man, I might make a swing through Iowa. I'll hit you up. Maybe I'll slide by and see you, do a little face-to-face. But good luck tonight, man. And otherwise, good luck with the rest of the season. And besides hunting, you and I will be in touch with the wrestling season getting ready to kick off.
Fact. All right, brother. Hey, good luck, man. Talk to you later.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. And if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And hell, while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a sub there too. I'd be super appreciative if you do those couple things for me. And before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Tacticam, Osseo Gear, Hawk Optics, Face Off E-Bikes, and Lathrop & Sons Boot Company. And until next time, we'll see y'all.